Hey VC, Matt here with a new Vinyl Finds video from my car again. I promise I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to do videos from my car all the time. I don't want people to label me the VC car guy. But unfortunately, the only time I've had to show records recently is on the road in my car. So I want you guys to see what I've bought over the last 4 or 5 months. And I want to get these shown and posted, so you're coming along with me on my car rides. I've got stuff to show from 3 different places, if you can count eBay as a place. So I've got some finds from there. I've got some finds from Euclid Records in St. Louis, and I've got some finds from the Record Exchange in St. Louis. So a couple stores and some online purchases. Some of the Euclid Record purchases were also done online. I was sick for 10 days at the end of January and the beginning of February, and I was just in bed for those 10 days. So that's a dangerous place to be for a record collector, right? I couldn't go out digging, so I did some digging online. Found some stuff on eBay. Some of it was done a little bit before then, but generally around that time frame. Let's just get into these. I'll show you what I got. First up, we have Chameleon Church, self-titled album on MGM. This is pop psych. I like to say leans a little bit heavier on the pop, lighter on the psych, but it's cool, kind of floaty, ethereal psych tinges that I like about this. And if you'll see on the back cover here, that is Chevy Chase. Yes, SNL guy, movie star. He was the drummer, played keyboards, did some backup vocals on a couple tracks. So that's kind of their claim to fame, was that it was Chevy Chase's band. But yeah, this has got some nice light psych stuff to it, and apparently the group hated that the producer added the psychedelic flourishes. They wanted this to just kind of be a vocal pop album, which I think if it had been, it would have been pretty terrible. I think the psych flourishes add enough to keep this interesting, otherwise it would get pretty boring. Not a great album, not a masterpiece or anything like that, but not a bad one. This was an enjoyable listen. Cool if you're into pop psych. And with shipping, this was $10. Next up, I've got a twofer. This is the Insect Trust, their self-titled album. This has actually been on my want list for a while. I'm familiar with it from the Endless Trip, and copies of this tend to go for $20 and $30, and I didn't want to pay that for it, not having heard it before, just kind of knowing about it, knowing it was considered to be a good kind of folk psych album. And their second album, Hoboken Saturday Night, is kind of considered their opus. It's better than the first album. The first album has such a cool cover. I mean, look, check this thing out. Really cool psychedelic cover on that first album. So it sparked my interest just based on that alone. And like I said, I didn't want to pay $20 or $30 for just that album. I would have been fine around 10, maybe 15 for it, and found somebody selling on eBay their first and their second. It was $18. It was on sale. They have an eBay store, so it was half off or something. So with shipping, I got both of those for $22 total. So $11 a piece, which is a really, really good deal. Hoboken Saturday Night also goes for around 20, 25, 30 sometimes depending. I've listened to the first album, the self-titled album, and it's different. It's very weird. It's it's definitely folk. Has sort of a British folk psych influence on it. It's not too dissimilar to Incredible String Band sound or something like that. Some pop influences, some rock influences, some country rock stuff going on. It's all over the place on each track. It's sort of jumping genres over each track, which can kind of make the listening a little bit harder. You've got to pay more attention to it. I don't know if I liked it. It's one of those. I don't think it's bad, but I don't know if it's great either. And I haven't, unfortunately, had a chance to listen to the second album yet. I need to get to that soon because it's supposed to be very, very good. But I would say if you're a fan of sort of rootsy Americana music, if you're a fan of kind of the British folk psych stuff, give these guys a listen. Check them out. And I'll let you know once I listen to Hoboken Saturday Night if I liked it any better. Next up, we have H.P. Lovecraft, their second album, H.P. Lovecraft 2. This is a really, really good album, and I love the cover on this. This is psych. This is straight up psychedelic rock. Gets very trippy on a couple songs. A little bit of a pop influence to make it listenable and stuff like that. It's not super, super deep. But no, really, really good album. This was with shipping $13, which is about half of what you normally see it go for. So I was really happy with that price. And fantastic stuff. Sort of some electronic stuff going on. Not real heavily, but it's there. And just a really, really good album. check these guys out. And my final purchase from eBay, this was actually like 4 or 5 months ago. This is the small faces. There are but 4 small faces. This was all of $10 with shipping. It was from a newer seller, low feedback kind of stuff. They didn't do a very good job of describing the condition. It was really vague. So I think people were kind of scared off by that, but I was not. I took a chance on it, for $10 for this album. And I'm super pleased with it. There's a little bit of a seam split starting at the top, but otherwise pretty clean cover. And the disc is in great shape. It's played through really, really well. So, when I don't have to spend $30 on an album, when I can spend 10 on it, I'm gonna hop at that chance every single time. And I love the Small Faces. The album starts off with Ichiku Park, which is one of my favorite Small Faces tracks. Just fantastic stuff. All right, next up we have some finds from Euclid Records in St. Louis. I had never been to Euclid before. I take that back. I'd been once when they had an outdoor sidewalk sale where everything was like $1.50 out there, and I only had time to dig outside, didn't have time to dig in the store. So I actually had the chance to go into the store. I only had about 45 minutes to look around, which is not nearly enough time at that store. They have a huge selection. It's deceptively big. The store looks small, but it's very long. So you've got lots of rows to dig through, and I did not have enough time to dig at all. I basically hit the new arrivals bin and just kind of checked for stuff that I'd wanted, kind of went to an artist section and looked there, and came away from the store with two items, and I was pretty happy with the prices I paid for it. But my initial impression of Euclid was that they price things full-blown retail. And they're retail, right? They're a record store. Some stuff I saw at Euclid, it sells for about half at Vintage Vinyl. Now, the condition at Vintage Vinyl may be a little bit rougher, but, not enough to make it that big of a price difference, in my opinion. So I was a little scared off from the store, just from the prices that I'd seen. And again, I didn't have a lot of time to dig. And posted about it on Facebook, and Dr. Dead Wax, Mark Dines, commented back and was like, oh, no. You need to give yourself plenty of time to do some digging because deals can be found there. And he tipped me off and let me know that they sell all of their inventory online as well. You can check it out at euclidrecords.com. And this was kind of at the beginning of January, so I was like, okay, I'll have to check out their website sometime. But when I got laid up in bed with the flu at the end of January, I had plenty of time to do just that. So that's what I did. I went through my whole want list and just kind of searched stuff out, and came away with some good deals. So I need to go back to the store when I have time to do a real full-on, 2-3 hour dig and see what I can come across there, because they had some major rare stuff there. But anyway, let's go ahead and show you what I bought. The first in-store purchase is Aorta, self-titled, group on Columbia out of Chicago. It's an album that I'd seen quite a bit in the VC. Heard some people kind of talk about and hype up. Just hadn't come across a copy in my price range. I usually see this around $25 or $30. This was $10 because the cover's a little bit rough. I'll show you the gatefold there with the picture of the heart. So these guys were kind of on the nose, right? Their group name's Aorta, showing a heart there on the inside gatefold, and the lyrics, everything sort of flows through this sort of thematic main vein that they call it. So, we get it, guys. You're Aorta, all right. But this is actually a really, really good album. I like this a lot. This is deep, trippy psych stuff. I thought it was going to be sort of hard rock, like early hard rock stuff, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it was not. This is, again, trippy psych rock. It starts off on a pretty mellow vibe, and then picks up with a lot of fuzz. There's some really cool organ solos on a couple tracks. Really, really enjoyable album. For $10, I was really happy with that purchase. And my second in-store purchase from Euclid Records, this is The Zombies, self-titled, featuring She's Not There and Tell Her No. This is a mono copy. I'm assuming this came from a library or a radio station because of the the catalog number, right? Like Z1, kind of the section it goes in or whatever. And again, the cover was not in the best shape on this. There's some tape on the top seam, a little bit on the side and the bottom. I'm okay with that though, because the record is like mint. Really, really clean record. And that's what you find a lot at Euclid. You find some harder to find stuff that maybe the cover's not great on, but the discs are immaculate. I mean, they make sure to buy quality vinyl, which is nice. So I'm a huge Zombies fan. I've been on the lookout for this for a very long time. I've never seen a copy in person. I've only seen it online. This one was 15 bucks. It was one of those, I'd been digging for a while and hadn't found anything. I came across Aorta, and then it was like, oh, the Zombies, I'll check their section and grabbed this. So I walked away with 2 records in the store that day, but really, really happy with it. This album, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Sort of British Invasion type rock, pop rock, but just phenomenal. She's Not There, of course, the big hit. Tell Her No was their other one. But I've Got My Mojo Working was a really nice kind of R&B rave up kind of a thing. Not 1,000 miles different from The Animals or like the Yardbirds or something, but gosh, just really, really great album. The Zombies are still really high up on my list of favorite groups of all time. All right, so then I did the online shopping through Euclid Records, and I want to take a moment to kind of respond to a question that TJ Brown Jr. is his YouTube moniker. I think his name is Ted. Maybe he goes by TJ. I don't know. I'm sorry if I flubbed up your name there. But in my last video, he was asking about 180 gram reissues. What are my thoughts on reissues? Specifically said 180 gram, but I think he's just more interested in just in general reissues. Personally, I have nothing against reissues. Now, I do have something against stuff like Kenny Rogers' The Gambler being reissued. Stuff that you see in every dollar bin across America. Every thrift store is going to have multiple copies and stuff like that. When those are being reissued, the vinyl resurgence has sort of gotten out of control. But that said, I think there is something to the reissue market, especially on rare and hard to find stuff. There's stuff that I'm never going to find. I'm never going to find in the wild, and if I do, I'm never going to be able to afford it. It's just not going to happen. A specific example of that is a record that is the top of my want list that I know is just a pipe dream. It's one of those that goes beyond holy grail status and just becomes, I should say maybe this is the true holy grail status. I overuse the term grail. You all overuse the term grail. We all do it. It's what we do. Tim Guthrie's recent video really hammers that point home, and I agree with everything he said, and I'm still going to overuse the term grail. This album is by a group called Gandalf. Self-titled album on Capitol Records, 68 or 69, somewhere around there. Super hard to find album. It's fantastic. But originals are going to run you $200, $300, $400 and up. If I find a copy and it's at $200, I'm not going to spend that on it. I'm just not going to. I'm not that guy. Recently, I've been spending a little bit more on records. I've been willing to spend 10 or 15 bucks on records, when in the past I was sort of the champion of the dumpster dive, and it was like, any more than like $5 and no. I've sort of loosened up on that because I have sort of the easier to find stuff, and I'm getting into the harder to find stuff. So I'm happy to loosen my grip a little bit on my wallet, but that's okay. I'm okay with doing that. I can get a Gandalf reissue for 15 or 20 bucks instead of paying 200 and up for an original copy. But that said, I don't do that. I actually have never done that. I have a couple reissues in my collection. 2 I'm about to show from Euclid Records, and they were sort of accidental reissue purchases, which I'll explain in a little bit. But a couple of the other reissues I have come from VCLT, from people like Bo, stuff like that. So for me, if I see a reissue that I can buy for 20 or 25 bucks, there's always this little voice in the back of my head that's like, yeah, but that could be 2 or 3 or 4 original records, stuff that maybe isn't super rare, but that you come across, right? So I've always kind of gone with that sort of quantity over over quality, and not even quality, I guess, but just instead of buying the new reissue, I look for other stuff I can buy on the side. So I hope that answers your question. Again, I have nothing against reissues. I think there's value to them. I think if you buy reissues, that's awesome. You're getting great, hard to find music on a format that you collect and that we would take to our grave. Sounds better. So more power to you if you want to buy reissues. I typically don't, because I'm a little bit cheaper. So that's what it boils down to. I'm kind of a cheapskate, and yeah. So hope I did that justice there. But going back to my accidental reissue purchases, so I was buying online, going through my want list, came across this album. This is Lily and Maria. This is a folk duo. These girls were 16 years old when they made when they wrote and recorded this album. This is a pretty hard to find album. If you find it, it's gonna cost you, 40 or 50 bucks, which is out of my price range. And I found this for $10 on Euclid Records website. And this is the sort of danger or the risk in buying stuff online because you're not there to see it. If I came across this in the store, I'd immediately know it's a reissue, right? It's got a glossy cover. It's on this sort of Columbia red label. It almost looks unofficial, almost like a bootleg, but I think this is an official Columbia reissue, but just from, I think it's from the 90s. But their website, how they list their records, it had the title, had the record label, which was Columbia, and it said Columbia red label. Now to me, I assumed the 360 2i label, right? I think we all probably would have, and I should have known for the price that it probably wasn't an original, but I was online, I was sick with the flu, so maybe I had a little bit of a fever reaction there, but still really happy to own it. The album is really good. Folk psych, just really ethereal. It's one I'd have to be in the mood to listen to again, if that makes sense. You've got to be kind of in the right mindset, but very ethereal, great sort of heartbreaking folk stuff done by two 16-year-old girls. Fantastic. And my second accidental reissue purchase, this is the Unfolding with How to Have a Freakout Party. With How to Blow Your Mind and Have a Freakout Party. Another one that was on my want list. This is trippy stuff, right? The first half of the album, side 1, is pretty straightforward, like psych pop rock, with lots of effects, lots of reverb, lots of wah-wah, lots of tape loops, all kinds of cool stuff going on. And then side 2, it's like Eastern trippy music with a guy, like, spoken voice telling you how you should have a freak out party, like how to have people over, put trippy music on, smoke some stuff, right? That kind of thing. It's on an Audio Fidelity label. This is just an all-white label. This is an album that's gonna run, $50 and up for an original copy, and it's really hard to find info on the originals. The originals also have sort of a white label, but it's a completely different design. So I couldn't see they don't have pictures of them online. They just have a little description. So I just thought, maybe it's an original. I'll take a chance on it. It was, I think it was $10 as well. And, it came in the mail. It's not an original. I was pretty bummed about having both of those because I'm sort of like, I could have spent that $20 on something else that I wanted that was $20, or I could have, spent it on a couple other $10 items. But, having played them, having listened to them, I'm not upset at all. I'm glad that I have them. I'm glad that I have them on vinyl. I'm glad that I have them at my disposal if I want to play whenever I want. I don't have to hop on YouTube and search for it to play now. I've got them. So, I've got some reissues in my collection that I bought. Even if it was on accident, I'm not upset about it. Maybe I'll find originals someday, and then I'll have these to give to somebody. And it'll be fine. It's fine. I'm not upset about it at all. And again, if you're watching this thinking, well, why would you ever think you'd get a $40 or $50 album online from a record store like that for $10? Because my last purchase is exactly that. This is the Troll Animated Music. Average selling price on Discogs for this is $65. On eBay, regularly see it at $40 and up. And this was $15. It's got tape all along the top seam, but otherwise it's really clean. The disc is super clean, and this is just such a really cool album. So again, $15 for an original of this, much less than what you would normally pay online, is why I took a chance on some of those other albums that ended up being reissues. It is what it is. But anyway, the music on this, not as trippy as The Unfolding. The Unfolding is definitely deeper, weirder, sort of exploito type stuff. This is more pop psych, but heavier on the psych, lighter on the pop. Starts out with some kind of straightforward pop psych songs, and then a couple of tracks do get a little bit deeper, have some cool effects. The last track, Werewolf and Witch Breath, is a really cool fuzzed up sort of psych rock song. So if you get a chance, if you find a copy of this, snatch it. It's really, really good stuff. All right, and that's it for my Euclid record finds, and we are on to the Record Exchange. I've been to the Record Exchange once before. I went last summer. It was super hot. Their air conditioner was broke. So, and I spent like 2 hours digging through stuff. It was all priced way too high for what I thought they had and for the condition on stuff. And so I was a little hesitant to go back, but I wanted to give Vintage Vinyl a break, let them replenish stock a little bit before I go and pillage their bins again. So I went into Record Exchange, had quite a bit of time on my hands, and found a bunch of really cool stuff at prices that I thought were fair. So let's get into these. First up, this is the Sally Angie Children of the Sun. I wasn't going to buy this for a couple of reasons. I didn't know what it was, first of all, and there's a little bit of water damage on the cover. If you can see on the top, there's a little bit of a wave going on here. So it's a little bit rougher, but when I opened it up, you've got the lyrics inside, and there's also the credits. And I saw in the credits that this is Mike and Sally Oldfield, and Mike is 16 years old here. This is the first recording that Mike Oldfield appears on, his first record. He plays guitar on it, does some vocals, and his sister Sally, of course, in the group as well. So, for that, I'll take a chance on it and see what this is like. And it's folk. I would say not folk psych. There's a couple tracks that maybe dip a little bit into that, but this is sort of traditional British folk that was really big around this time period. Sort of like Fairport Convention, Steel Eye Span, that sort of stuff. Not my cup of tea, didn't care for this a whole lot. This was $10, which is a pretty good price for it, actually. So I don't know. I'll keep it around and give it another spin or two, but this might be getting passed along to somebody. And I found a copy of Bob Seger System's Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. I love this album. The only copies I've ever come across were reissues from the 80s. So Bob Seger, of course, blows up in the late 70s and 80s, becomes a huge superstar. And so they reissued this album, which didn't sell real well at the time, didn't have a great initial release. So original copies are really tough to come by. This is an original copy, and this is like mint. This is super clean. I sent my reissue on to somebody that I think will enjoy it quite a bit, and I now have an original in my collection, and this was only $8, which is a fantastic price on that. So I guess I should say too, if you're not familiar with this album, this is nothing like Bob Seger's 70s output. Nothing like it at all. This is like hard and heavy blues rock, some psychedelic elements, sort of a garage punk feel to a couple tracks, like 2+2 is so good, Tales of Lucy Blue, Dr. Fine. Give this a spin. If you think you're not a Bob Seger fan, give this a listen. You won't be disappointed. Then we have a copy of Brewer at Shipley's down in LA. This is their debut on A&M Records, their only release on A&M. After this, they went on to Kama Sutra. Had the big hit, of course, One Toke Over the Line. But this is really, really good country rock, folk rock, whatever you want to brand it as. I'd say it's like country rock. I'd never seen a copy of this album before, and this was pretty high on my want list. And they had 2 copies that day, and this one is a promo copy on the white label there. Really, really nice, clean copy of this. And gosh, this was really good. H.P. Lovecraft, which I showed earlier, does a version of Keeper of the Keys, which is one of their songs that they wrote, and this is on the album. So it was cool to hear this version. I was more familiar with the H.P. Lovecraft version. If you're into country rock stuff, this should be soaring to the top of your want list. This is really, really good stuff. And I forgot to mention this was $8 as well. Then next up, we have the American Revolution self-titled. This album, I really love the cover on this. Super colorful, super of the time, right? That late 60s sort of, I don't know. It looks poppy, looks psychedelic. You're kind of not sure what this is. And this is much heavier on the pop rock side than on the psychedelic side. Opus number 1 is about as psychedelic as they get on this album, that track. Otherwise, it's pretty standard pop rock. Not the best album. I didn't dislike it. It's just not one that it sort of was a letdown. You hope it's more psychedelic. You hope there's more fuzz guitar than there is. A fun listen for sure. Just one that will not get a ton of time on the turntable in the future, but it's cool to have at least. And this was $15. It sells for a little bit more than that, but again, not one you find every day, so I was willing to pay a little bit more. And I had a trade-in credit at the Record Exchange too. I forgot to mention that. I brought in some stuff, had about $20 in trade-in, so took the price down a little bit. Every price I've said there, though, it's been sticker price, so sticker price minus the 20 at the end. So this is one that I've been looking for a very, very long time, and just have had not had good luck finding this album. This is the Hollies Evolution. I love the cover on this. This is one of my favorite covers from the 60s. It's just so cool. You've got sort of that paisley feel, sort of psychedelic, a little bit of everything sort of mixed into one on the front cover here. And what a good album. Just fantastic. Carrie Ann's on here. Rain on the Window. Just really, really good Hollies-esque pop rock, but a little bit of a harder edge to it. You know, dips its toes into psych a little bit, but not real deep. Just really great, well-crafted songs on here. Fantastic. This was $8, and this was also a promo copy, white label mono promo copy. So usually see stereo copies of this. I think the mono was only available on a promo, so I'm really, really happy to snag this. Normally, I've seen this in stores a few times, normally for $20 or more, and they're not promos, so I was able to grab that. Now the disc is a little bit rough, but since it's mono, it plays with a little bit less noise, plays better than you would think it would anyway for how it looks. But yeah, super happy to have this. And lastly, last one I've got to show in this whole big group here. This is Zoo, self-titled. This is on Mercury. These guys were out of France, and I bought this solely based on the cover. I was digging. It was the last album in the bins that I was digging through, being in the Z's, of course, and it just immediately jumped out. I was like, oh, I've got to buy this. I don't even know what it is, but I've got to take a chance on it. This was $15, and it ended up being a very, very good price on this. And this thing is mint. It's got a punch out up here in the corner, but otherwise flawless cover, flawless vinyl, just fantastic condition. And I got it home and was pulling it up on Discogs and saw that it was like jazz rock prog, and I think it also said psych. So I was like, oh no, jazz rock, prog rock, you know, not my typical cups of tea. But no, I really enjoyed this. Actually, I've listened to this album a lot since I got it. It's jazz rock, heavier on the prog, dips its toes into some psych, so there's enough trippy elements on a couple songs that it keeps me sort of interested in wanting to hear more. But no, I really, really like this album. Really, it is jazz rock, it is proggy, but I don't know, I dug it. Couldn't be happier with that find. Again, not usually my cup of tea, that kind of music, that kind of genre, but boy, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Guys like Zeke Geek, Mark Dines, Dr. Deadwax, I think you guys would dig the crap out of that album. So if you get a chance, pull that up online, check it out. I'm stopping to eat lunch, so this was good timing. Thanks for sticking around, VC. I will let you guys go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for leaving comments. And hope to have another video posted in another week or so. So we'll see you guys soon. Take it easy.